So, why does staying disciplined feel like this constant uphill battle we're always losing? If you've ever felt your focus just shatter into a million pieces, you are definitely not alone. And as we're going to see, the reason for it, well, it might not be what you think at all. Oh man, you know the feeling, right? You start the day with a perfect plan. You're going to knock out that report, you're going to hit the gym, you're going to eat healthy. But then, fast forward to noon, and you're just endlessly scrolling on your phone. That report is barely touched, and the gym feels like a distant memory. It's this frustrating cycle of good intentions, then distraction, then regret. But listen, this feeling isn't some kind of personal flaw. It's really just a symptom of the crazy world we're all living in. Get ready for this number, 47 seconds. Yeah, you heard that right. According to some pretty eye-opening research, that is the average amount of time any of us can focus on a single screen before our attention gets pulled somewhere else. We're talking less than a minute. This isn't just a tiny dip in our focus. It's a massive rewiring of how our brains even pay attention anymore. And this, right here, this is the most important takeaway. Your struggle with discipline, it's not because you're lazy or because you failed. It's actually a huge conflict between our ancient hardwired brains and a modern world that is expertly, and I mean expertly, designed to exploit that wiring. Okay, so to really understand this conflict, we have to start by looking inside our own heads, because believe it or not, there's a battle for control being waged in there every single moment of every single day. So think of this war as having two sides. On one side, you've got your prefrontal cortex. This is kind of like the CEO of your brain, right? It's the part that handles all the big picture, long-term planning, and rational thinking. But on the other side, you've got the limbic system. This is your ancient, emotional, impulsive brain, and all it cares about is immediate gratification, survival, pleasure, and fear. And the limbic system's favorite weapon in this war, it's dopamine. Now, you've probably heard dopamine called the pleasure chemical, but that's a huge myth. Neuroscience actually shows it's the wanting chemical. It's the thing that drives our motivation to seek rewards. It's all about the anticipation, the craving, not the actual pleasure of getting the thing. So here's how it plays out. You're sitting in front of a big, long-term project. Your rational prefrontal cortex is saying, okay, let's get this done, it's important for our future. But your limbic system is basically screaming, ugh, this is boring and hard, let's get a super quick and easy dopamine hit from checking our phone instead. And because that limbic system is faster and way more primitive, it often wins the battle before your rational brain can even get a choose on. Now let's talk about how this internal tug of war is being targeted and amplified by the world around us. Because this isn't just happening in a vacuum. We are living in an environment that is literally built from the ground up to keep our emotional, impulsive brain in the driver's seat. Wow, this quote just nails it, doesn't it? Our phones aren't just tools anymore. They are unbelievably efficient dopamine delivery systems. I mean, every single ping, every notification, every little red bubble is a tiny stimulus perfectly designed to trigger that wanting system deep inside your brain. And the way they do it is so clever. App designers use these powerful psychological tricks to make their products almost impossible to put down. You know when you pull down to refresh your feed. You have no idea what you're going to get. Could be a great video, could be nothing. That's called an intermittent variable reward, and it's the exact same mechanism that makes slot machines so addictive. They also tapped into our deep, primal need for social validation with likes and shares. And then they do things like infinite scroll, which literally removes the bottom of the page, so there's no natural point to stop and think, should I keep doing this? So, why does this whole system work so darn well on us? Well, it's because the most effective kind of manipulation is the kind you don't even realize is happening. This, right here, this is the whole game. We end up feeling bad about ourselves. We think, ugh, I'm just so lazy, or I have zero self-control. We completely miss the fact that our attention isn't just wandering off on its own. It is being actively and intentionally pulled away by systems designed to do exactly that. And we tell ourselves, it's totally harmless, right? I'll just check that one email. I'll just glance at this one notification. But what is the actual hidden price we pay for these little, tiny interruptions? The cost is 23 minutes. I am not kidding. Research from Gloria Mark shows it takes an average of 23 minutes and 15 seconds to get fully back on task after just a single distraction. It's because of this thing called attention residue, where thoughts about what you just looked at linger in your brain and prevent you from fully focusing. So yeah, that quick check just torched nearly half an hour of your productive deep work.
This chart really puts it all into a stark perspective. Back in 2008, the average human attention span was about 12 seconds. Not great, but okay. Fast forward to today, and it's dropped to just 8 seconds. But look what happens when we're on a screen. Where the battle for our focus is at its most intense, it plummets to that 47-second number we talked about. We're not just getting a little distracted, our ability to think is being fundamentally changed.
Okay, so if the problem is our environment and not some deep personal flaw, then just gritting our teeth and using more willpower isn't the solution. Pushing harder is like trying to swim upstream against a tidal wave. It's exhausting and you're not going to win. We need a totally new way of thinking about this. Let's just compare two different mindsets. On one side, you have the whole hustle culture idea that tells you to rely on brute force willpower, that breaks are for the weak and that the goal is just to be busy all the time. But what does the actual science say? Well, it says the complete opposite. It says effective work relies on building good systems, that breaks are absolutely essential for focus, and that the goal is effectiveness, not just being busy. Even our old stories about discipline are starting to fall apart. You've probably heard of the famous marshmallow test, right? The one that suggested a kid's ability to not eat a marshmallow was this ironclad predictor of their future success. Well, it turns out, when they redid the test and controlled for a child's environment, like whether their home life was stable or chaotic, the test's predictive power basically vanished. See, for a kid from an unstable home, eating the marshmallow right away isn't a failure of willpower. It's a smart, rational decision. It proves that discipline isn't just some trait you're born with, it's shaped enormously by your environment. And that brings us to the real solution. It's something called choice architecture. This is the new discipline. It is not about having more willpower. It's about consciously and deliberately building an environment around you where you barely even need to use willpower in the first place. Okay, so this all might sound a little intense, but this is not a losing battle. Not at all. By understanding the forces we're up against, we can actually start designing systems and habits that protect our focus and let us reclaim our ability to choose what we want to pay attention to. So here are 3 practical strategies you can start using today. First, add intentional friction. Make it harder to get to your distractions. Turn off notifications. Maybe log out of social media so you have to type your password every time. Second, get stuff out of your head. All those little to-dos and unfinished tasks create mental clutter and stress. Write them down in a trusted place. And third, manage your energy, not just your time. Our brains naturally work best in 90-minute bursts. So work hard for 90 minutes and then take a real screen-free break to recharge. So let's just throw out that old, outdated definition of discipline. It is not about brute force. It's not about self-denial. True discipline, today, in this world, is about being a smart, strategic designer, thoughtfully creating a life where your best self, your rational brain, actually has a fighting chance. In a world that is literally optimized to distract you, the single greatest act of rebellion is to consciously choose to build a life that you control, not one that's controlled by an algorithm. So the real question to leave you with is this. What's the first small change you're going to make to start protecting your most valuable asset, your attention?